Visit circasports.com. Must be over 21 and present in Iowa to bet. Have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
KXNO AM Des Moines, KXNO FM Ankeny, KKTM HD2 Des Moines. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, sports talk, and podcasts.
Miller and Condon on 106.3 KXNO is sponsored by TC Sports, LLC.
Live and local every weekday. Statewide on the Iowa Sports Radio Network and everywhere you are on the free iHeartRadio app. This is Des Moines Sports Station, 106.3 KXNO.
For 75 years, NCMIC has been doing the right thing for its customers, employees, and the community. Now, here's Miller and Condon. Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network and 106.3 KXNO.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Miller and Condon on the air with you on a Wednesday. We talk the world of sports. Taking you till 2 o'clock here this afternoon before Lucas and Sean the airwaves off the bench until 5 o'clock in Overtime Iowa takes you home from L6. Trent Condon joined today by our man Nick Marovets back in with us once again, locked on Cyclones. Nick, good to see you. Good hanging out with you yesterday, and well, you didn't get scared away. You're back for day number 2.
I did so well. You were willing to have me back. I can't believe it. 2 days in a row. It's going to be so much fun.
Absolutely. We got a lot to get into here today. Coming up on the guest list, we'll kick things off. Coming up at about the bottom of the hour, some Hawkeye talk with Eliot Clough is going to join us from HawkeyeInsider.com, part of 24/7 Sports. We'll get the latest in the recruiting world as Iowa continues to dabble and work the not transfer portal anymore back into the traditional high school recruiting. Some potential big news coming up for Iowa State later today with an announcement of Donovan Davis, who's going to make his announcement. Now, Iowa is amongst his top 5, but boy, all indications are that he is going to be a Cyclone. And is it a 6 o'clock announcement? Do you remember offhand when that is?
I want to say it was 7:45.
Okay. A little bit
About
later
the
on.
same. Yeah.
Another Milwaukee guy, another Wisconsin guy, and we know TJ Otzenberger definitely has his sights set there, and he has done incredibly well. Very fertile territory. We'll talk some recruiting and more coming up with Eliot Clough here at about 12:25. Then the 1 o'clock hour begins with David Kaplan, our weekly conversation with the Cap Man, as we will talk a lot of things. The Cubs remain red hot, their second consecutive walk-off victory. The Bears now looking forward, coming off the draft, and how kind of all the pieces are fitting together for the Bears. A year ago, of course, had so much go their way. Those bounces that didn't go their way the year previous, and in the NFL, seems to even itself out what the Bears are going to do. And if there's still more to be done for that roster, we'll talk about that and more. Plus, maybe a White Sox question.
Oh,
they're playing well. I didn't anticipate this was going to happen, but yes, maybe even the White Sox. A question. We'll jump in there with David Kaplan that comes up to kick off the 1 o'clock hour. Well, Nick, we go through and a pretty big story percolated that we touched on a little bit yesterday, but it becomes even more real. A story from Ross Dellinger of Yahoo as he talked about, once again, the possibility of an expansion to a 24-team college football playoff bracket. And now the coaches are behind it. And it's, so interesting because for so many years in the SEC, everyone was in lockstep. You didn't hear coaches, you didn't hear administrators, you didn't hear commissioner, none of that. It was all, they were having the same conversation. It was the same talking points. The solidarity that the SEC had was a big part of the strength that they had, coupled with obviously the great football that went along with it. Now you're seeing fractures from a couple of weeks ago when Greg Byrne, the athletic director at Alabama, said, hey, the SEC championship game, maybe it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, when you're hearing that from a sitting athletic director and one at Alabama, that obviously I think caused a little bit of a stir. And now from Kirby Smart to other coaches saying, you know what, a 24-team playoff might not be a bad thing. They were steadfast. They wanted the 16. Is it feeling inevitable to you that we're going to get a 24-team bracket?
Absolutely. I mean, up until this point, it was kind of just like a theory, a possibility. It did feel like it was going to happen, but there wasn't I felt like a lot of backing behind it. Now, with this AFCA board all kind of getting in line and all these coaches that are like, you know what, let's just go ahead and do it. I feel like obviously this board isn't going to make the decision, but there's enough support, I would say, that's public now that it really does feel inevitable.
The other big component of this is the discontinuation of conference championship games. And
Huge.
It changes the way that we look at college football, what a championship means, those kind of things. But in the grand scheme of it, to get more playoff games, to double your amount of playoff games that you would get, a little bit more as you go from 11 playoff games in the 12-team structure up to 23 games now. That would be part of this. Now, not all these games are going to be great. Not all the games are certainly going to rate in the way that we're used to, but as the bowl structure continues to diminish, more and more teams, and that was a point that Kirby Smart made, is, look, bowl games don't have the same meaning. And it's something that has been just a downward trend now for a decade. You can still have some of the bowl games. You can still have them for...
Got to keep the Pop-Tart Bowl.
But right, yeah, Pop-Tart. You want to put a 7-5 Iowa State team against a 7-5 Utah team? Sure, you do things like that. That's fine. But it's ultimately about the championship. And, one talking point that I guess has bothered me during this whole time is the people that say the regular season is going to be devalued. If you go this route, it's going to devalue, something that has certainly impacted college basketball because for the most part, the good teams are going to get in.
Yep.
Regular season game just doesn't have the same kind of weight. My argument is I think this is going to bring even more teams into the fold. And for so many years, once we got to November, well, you could cross off 90% of the teams that had nothing, at least playoff-wise, to play for at that point.
Right.
When you build this thing out, suddenly that November Iowa-Wisconsin game, both teams come in 6-3, something like that. Well, there's real weight on this. You win those final 3 games of the regular season, you get to 9-3, you got a possibility. You go into November with something that is realistic, attainable, and that's going to, I believe, open up more. And if you had that Iowa-Wisconsin game, look, here, different. But in the South, suddenly, hey, there might be a playoff bid on the line here. This is an important game for the playoff. How many more people, casual fans, are going to be watching those, not the top tier games, not the Alabama-Auburn, but that next tier of game? I think it's going to involve more people, more things to play for. And I think in the end, certainly when we get towards the end of the season, it's going to help college football, the ratings and the viewership, because you're going to have more games that actually matter for a playoff.
No, I think you're exactly right, because the argument is that by doing this, we're diminishing the value of the loss, right? The loss doesn't matter as much early on in the season. But what that does is you can take those losses and it extends your season out. So if you're Iowa State and you lose week 2, you in the 14 playoff, you were not making it. It was the reality. You had to go perfect, and you probably had to beat some ridiculous non-conference teams, win your Big 12 championship. Like, that was the reality of the situation. Now, if you expand it out to 24, what can Iowa State lose? Probably 2, maybe 3, depending on where their losses are in their schedule, especially if they're early and to really good opponents or whatever the case is. That brings a lot of value to those November, late season games. And so I actually think that's maybe the only benefit of this. When you touched on the conference championship thing there, that was something we talked about yesterday with the automatic bids. And what does the Big 12 do with only 2? If they get 2 bids, then it's like, well, we've already kind of devalued that game. If both teams in the game are guaranteed a spot, what does that even mean? I don't love the idea of getting away from conference championships, but it feels like we've been shifting that direction for a while now with ring culture and with it really all being about the ultimate national championship anyway. And so I guess if this is a byproduct of the larger playoff, which, I think making the playoffs there's always that, like, well, once you're in the dance, you got a chance, right? And so I don't love the disassembly of the conference championship, but if it has to happen, I guess it has to happen.
Chip in a chair. That's all you need. Get in there, make a run, and be that Cinderella. And a lot of teams in the middle of the conferences are going to have that hope that they can do that. So another component to this is something, I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but I know our listeners have definitely heard me. Going back to 2020, I absolutely love the idea that the Big Ten had, where they had that final week of the season. Obviously, it was the weird year. Big Ten, what do they have? 6 scheduled games, I think it was. But the final week, they're just going to match you up. Iowa was supposed to play Michigan. Michigan chickened out. They would have got throttled. And you talk about a just sliding doors moment. Michigan would have bumbled. Iowa was playing great at that point in the year. They would have beat them by 40. Then they would have played Ohio State. They also opted out of that game. They probably would have got beat by 60. Jim Harbaugh would have been fired. Jim Harbaugh would have been gone as the Michigan head coach if they played those final 2 games they were supposed to that season. It didn't happen, alas. Jim Harbaugh goes on to win a national championship. But one of those sliding door moments that can happen throughout the course of a season. But the idea was perfect. It was 2020. Teams are opting out. That was different. But you're going to go into the final week of the season. We don't know who you're going to play. You're going to play somebody, and you probably have to set up beforehand. Look, half the teams, you're going to be at home. Here's the other half that are going to be road. So you can at least have your schedule equitable. Tickets are already going to be sold, those kind of things.
Yeah.
But you go into a final weekend. That is actually what the new Pac-12 is doing this season.
Oh.
They are going to do something very similar to that. Now, they still do have their conference championship game, but this is going to happen the final week of the schedule, week 13. That is November 28th. And they have half their teams that are designated as home teams, the other half road, and they're going to match it up. And it might have something to do with who ultimately gets to that championship. But this thought process behind it, I think, does make a ton of sense. And it makes more sense for a Big Ten, because suddenly you look and you say, you know what? I don't know if this 9-3 team has quite enough on their resume, or even an 8-3 team. But you know what? You take them on somebody very similar to them, probably the same kind of resume, and the winner of that game that gets into a championship, I think it'd be huge. The problem is you have Ohio State, Michigan in that final weekend. You're not going to get rid of that. We know the television, that revenue that comes out of that is the highest rated game every single year. You're not going to go away from that. Is during that, what is now championship week, is that still going to be available? Or are we already going to be playing college football playoff games? So that's the part of the calendar that makes that a little bit trickier.
Yeah, that part of the year is interesting. I think it does make sense from the perspective of how large the conferences are. And we talked about yesterday, like you could end up playing the entire bottom half or the entire top half of a conference. And it just puts you in a weird spot as far as like, did you lose all those top games? Well, are you the worst team in the conference? Probably not. But I do think you kind of laying all of that out makes me think we've got to reshift everything. Like, I don't think we're at a spot where we can make a tiny tweak. You know, we just tighten a lug nut and the tire's on. We gotta get a whole new set of tires at this point. So if that, changes when rivalry week is, are we doing that, week 4, early on in the season, which allows for some back end shifting? I think, is that the best idea? No, probably not. But, my point is we really have to get to where we're reframing everything. And that comes back to like Army Navy is probably going to be involved. And the structure of the playoff obviously is in question. And then bowl, like you mentioned, bowls are very different now than they were 10 years ago. And so are they still a part of the playoff? Because how many bowl games then? Is it only the first round? Is it the last 5 games? All of that gets called into question. And I think if they're willing to do it, that's the best way to go about this. I don't think you try to keep what college football was. And I'd love the history of it, but I think you have to go with a fresh start.
Yes. Yeah. Something new ideas. There are no, you've been in those meetings, right?
Yeah.
There are no, there are stupid ideas, but let's hope that some good ones definitely come out of that. So that is the latest on what looks to be the possibility of this thing changing. Won't be for this year. 2026 is locked in. It will be a 12-team college football playoff. But in the future, it feels like more and more momentum continuing for us to jump past 16 and go right into the 24-team model. Top 8 teams get a opening round bye. And much like the structure is, well, in fact, the exact same structure of what the FCS playoffs look like. The other component, do we have to continue with this charade with the bowl games? The bowl games being a part of it. The Rose Bowl, I know, huge. Been to a Rose Bowl, loved it. But everything in this structure and the amount of money that is being left on the table, you have the current structure now where we get to the quarterfinal round of these games are playing on bowl sites. You have all the travel that's involved, 3 consecutive travel dates for even the best of the best teams. Then you also have it where the top teams, the top 4, don't get to host a playoff game. When we get to the semifinals, I'm fine with it, but I think this structure would be so much better. These games on campus. What's better?
No,
absolutely. Watching a game in Arizona at a Fiesta Bowl between whoever, or seeing that on a college campus, seeing it Utah, Oregon, not even the top tier teams that we see all the time, but those teams that have, an incredible season and have that opportunity to host a playoff game, host a quarterfinal game, just how huge that would be. I go back to the first year they expanded a playoff a couple of years back, that Friday night with Notre Dame playing host to Indiana, and just that environment, how cool that was. It was god awful cold. It was it was brutal in terms of the elements, but the stage, the pomp and circumstance, what makes college football what it is. We don't see the AFC and NFC championship games. Nope, sorry. We're going to Dallas because we know the Cowboys aren't going to be there. That's not how it is. Having those home sites, I think, would go a long ways, and that's another part that I hope they do. Cut off the bowl games. They can still be around. They can still do something in their own realm, but the amount of money, and we hear every athletic department out there, every conference talking about we need more money. Here's a way to generate more money and not give it to these guys in their ugly blazers.
Absolutely. Think back to when Iowa State won their 10th game of the season against Kansas State. I was in the stands for that game, and it was frigid cold, and it was packed. I mean, everyone was there to see a historic moment like that, and the cap to the great season that was with Jaden and Jalen, and it's obviously Farmageddon too, so there was a little bit of an extra added effect there, but that kind of environment is what makes college football so special, and to take that away from the playoffs, to me, feels like a disservice to the sport. I feel like you really got to lean into, because in my opinion, college fan bases are so much more enthusiastic than in the pros.
Yeah.
And I think you got to lean into that. And that's where, I think that we get back to that. Big shifts are probably going to have to be made.
Let's jump over to what we saw last night. What a start in the NBA. We're watching the Pistons for a while. They pull away late in that one against the Cavs, but late night watching the Lakers and the Thunder. Is this thing just over? I mean, is this just the Oklahoma City Invitational, and OKC is going to run away from everybody? We saw the Spurs for them, and I know they were season. It's money minus money right now. You got to lay it in order to play the Thunder to win the NBA championship. But are we just setting ourselves up for it's inevitable? It's OKC and everybody else.
That's kind of the question that I had yesterday when we were walking through the bracket. I was like, I don't see anyone that is that good. I mean, there are going to be challenges. They're probably not going to sweep their way to a championship, but for somebody to win 4 games out of 7, of course, against them, I find that hard to really put together.
I'm with you. Watching last night, it didn't even feel that the Thunder played their A game last night.
Yeah.
They hit 13 threes. They played pretty well, and they're just toying with the Lakers. Reeves looked completely out of sorts. You can see that's a guy coming off, and he was not the guy that you certainly anticipate 3 of 16 from the floor. And that's going to show up in a big-time way because they needed his scoring. But that's overall with this Lakers team. So, thinking of the other, we'll steal game 1 as we talked about yesterday. Anthony Edwards now listed as questionable for tonight. I don't think he's going to go. I think he used the rest. But that aside, you're OKC. You got to pick your opponent in the Western Conference Finals. You think OKC wants to see the Spurs team? Did give them trouble this year. This tough, gritty, physical Minnesota team. Who would be their choice?
I think you probably lean Spurs in this case. The Timberwolves, if they win out in this series, I think a much hotter team, a scarier momentum-wise team, and obviously it would depend kind of on where Anthony Edwards is at. But I think you would lean for the Spurs here. And we talked yesterday about how like the Timberwolves might be actually a worse matchup for the Thunder in that situation. I wanted to circle back to that Thunder-Lakers matchup and just talk about really, really quick talking point. LeBron James, 27 points.
Yeah.
This might be like, I'm not taking the Lakers in this series. So let's take every game at face value and enjoy what is kind of coming up on the end here of the last few years of LeBron.
It's incredible. I just love watching him. I understand, yes, I have to be an MJ guy because of my age. Right. We all have to be MJ guys, and we have to shout down LeBron. I just enjoy greatness. I love watching him play so much, and to see it at 41 years old, still doing it, 27 points. He wins a playoff series almost on his own against a Rockets team that was, at minimum, talented. Not a very good team, but talented on that. I love LeBron. I do.
You got it on the air.
MJ's still better, but I do love it. You can like both.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, Kobe, that's a different conversation. And the young Kobe guys, oh boy, they were different back in the day, but that's a different conversation completely. NBA video, and we will get to see game 2 coming up with the T-Wolves tonight. That's an 8:30 tip-off. ESPN has that one. Sixers next before it. See a bounce back from the Sixers tonight because I kind of do. I think they hang around at minimum tonight in New York.
Yeah, I think we were talking about like maybe momentum after that win over the Celtics. Like that was kind of an exhausting couple of days. I give them a little bit of rest, a little bit of a reset. I think they're at least going to push them. I don't think it's a walk in the park. I think maybe Embiid does a little bit more in this game and at least keeps it close.
On the ice, John Hines made the decision. He's going to go with a different goalie for the Wild last night. We're going to go with Gustafson instead of what we saw from the Wall in game number 1 after giving up 8 goals overall in that one. Didn't go very well. Gustafson gives up 4, and under at the end, it was 5-2. You just go back to Wallstead, I guess, in game 3, which we have to wait quite a while before we get to game 3. That is not going to be until Saturday. 3 days off. Kind of weird, but there's something going on in Minnesota. I think there was maybe the women's team, I think, maybe had ice or something weird. But regardless, going to have a lot of off days here, and the decision making now for Hines and what they're going to do.
They need the time off.
Yeah.
They do not look like a better team than Colorado. Like, if they were to win that game last night, it would have been a miracle. And right now, it kind of feels like it's the Avalanche or the Thunder of the NHL a little bit to me. And the Wild are going to have to piece together something kind of ridiculous, which is why I didn't necessarily love the move to Gustafsson. I feel like they probably should have stuck with the wall, but now you have a chance to throw him back in, get a little rest, use the reset, and you have to win game 3. We talked about this. Like, it is every game must win. You can't go down on 3-2. It was absolutely expected to come back.
Well, baseball is pretty underway, including the Brewers and the Cardinals. They just their matchup down in St. Louis after the rain out last night. Cubs do it again, back-to-back walk-off victories, 3-2 in this one. 2 nights ago, when Eliot Clough came in for the Reds, I just started chuckling because I saw him with the Twins, and he was awful, just absolutely brutal. I know he's got 6 saves this year. He's blown 3, including 2 nights ago. Then he goes down with a hamstring injury. That looks scary as he was hobbling around out there on the bump. But the Cubs just keep winning, and the winning streak continues at Wrigley Field. This team's putting it all together. And though the NL Central looks to have a lot of good teams, a lot of teams at minimum that are going to be solid throughout the course of the year, the Cubs do appear to be on a different tier.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time to be a Cubs fan. I think obviously right now it's May, but you got to take it at face value and just enjoy, 24-12. That's pretty good. Not going to lie. Yeah,
Tyone solid, and they get the victory as the winning streak in Wrigley continues for the Cubs. Now 24-12 on the season, playing at a 106 win pace so far on the season. We'll talk more Cubs coming up a little bit later on. Kick off the 1 o'clock hour. David Kaplan will join us from Chicago, and we'll get the latest on that. Talk some White Sox, talk some Bulls, what they're going to do in their front office with the change happening there, and of course get into the Cubs with Cappy and the Bears, all coming up at 1 o'clock. Coming up on the other side, we're going to talk some Hawkeyes. Eliot Clough is going to join us from 24/7 Sports, HawkeyeInsider.com. That is next. Nick Marovets hanging out with me, Trent Condon. It's Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network.
Live and local every weekday. Statewide on the Iowa Sports Radio Network and everywhere you are on the free iHeartRadio app. This is Des Moines Sports Station 106.3 KXNO.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
I've got to share this. Nugenix Total T2 has been a game changer in helping boost total testosterone. My energy is up. I feel leaner, stronger, and more like myself again. Nugenix Total T2 uses a brand new formula fueling performance in and out of the gym. Join the thousands of men who are seeing results.
Text LIKE to 215215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2. LIKE to 215215.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Your one stop for advertising? Call 844-844-iHeart.
Aftershock Heating and Cooling was built on the belief that homeowners deserve better service, faster response times, and clear communication.
Get in on the action with the world's largest sports book right at your fingertips. Circa Sports Iowa is where the pros play. Enjoy the highest limits, lowest takeouts, and competitive betting menus. Download, fund, and bet from anywhere in Iowa. Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com. Must be over 21 and present in Iowa to bet. Have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Hey, Mom, now that I have an after-school job, I think I want to buy a drum kit. Okay, rock star. Let's look at your account.
When kids start making money, Chase has easy-to-use tools and expert bankers to help them learn how to manage it.
And next month, I'll buy the bass drum and the cymbals. Oh, and maybe some noise-canceling headphones for you.
Aw, you've thought of everything.
Help kids save, budget, and build financial independence, all with Chase. That's good for kids and good for parents. Visit your local Chase branch and get started.
Account subject to approval. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
More with Miller and Condon in 60 seconds, right here on 106.3 KXNO.
You bought an RV, and you got an automatic discount from Progressive by bundling it with your home or auto insurance. That's great, but a serious word of warning every RVer should heed. You don't need to talk about things like dry weight or dump stations. And you don't need one of those expensive water filter straws either. Because the most extreme thing most RVers encounter is a campsite without hookups. So just enjoy yourself and Progressive's automatic discount when you bundle your RV, boat, or motorcycle with your home or auto insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
A win is a win. A win is a win. I don't care what y'all say. Yep, that's me, Clifford Taylor IV. And on my new podcast, The Clifford Show, I'm bringing you raw, unfiltered conversations with your favorite athletes, creators, and media personalities. Each week, we'll talk about sports, life, mental health, purpose, and even music. The Clifford Show is not just a conversation. It's a celebration.
Search The Clifford Show on iHeartRadio, America's #1 podcast network, and the Webby Podcast Company of the Year.
Strong neighborhoods start with shared spaces, places where we walk, play, celebrate, and connect. Friends of Des Moines Parks works with individuals and businesses to deliver support that helps make our parks more vibrant, inclusive, and accessible for everyone. From playgrounds to programs, every donation and volunteer hour helps create stronger connections across Des Moines. Be part of something positive. Support Friends of Des Moines Parks. Visit friendsofdmparks.org to learn more.
You're listening to Miller and Condon.
You can't see it. Wide open.
On 106.3 KXNO and the Iowa Sports Radio Network.
Back with you, it's Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network. Trent Condon, Nick Marovets with you today, taking you up until 2 o'clock before Off the Bench comes your way with Lucas and Sean from 2 until 5. Time to talk Hawkeyes. Joining us from HawkeyeInsider.com, he is Eliot Clough as he joins us here today. Eliot, once again, great to talk with you, catch up with you. It is the quiet time, but you guys are always working over there at 24/7 Sports, and recruiting seems to be kind of the change now, getting back into the recruiting territory. How you doing?
Good, Trent. Yeah. For working our butts off like crazy with the NCAA tournament, then to the portal. It weirdly feels like we don't have a ton to do right now, but of course, recruiting helping us out, getting a few commits here and there. That keeps us busy.
No doubt about it. And you guys pumping out the content, you, Sean, and David, though. Eichelt's on vacation. Do I have this right?
You do. Yep. Yeah. He's out of the country. I think he's Cayman Islands. Is that technically a U.S. territory?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Asking the wrong guy. I struggle at MapTap every single day, so I'm struggling on that front. Don't know on that one. Well, usually news does break at this point in time. What can you tell us? Let's start on basketball. So there was a couple of interviews that Coach McCollum's done here recently. He was talking a little bit about potentially maybe adding another guard. Do you have any names, anybody that would make sense, anything that at least you look at and say this guy's still in the portal that would go there? Because the likelihood of Tavion Banks being back for another season appears to be pretty slim at this point. Those JUCO guys getting another year of eligibility. What can you tell us in basketball, what they could potentially do with that final roster spot?
Honestly, right now, not a whole lot. It appears that, at least from what we know, that is the plan, that they are still going to be looking and considering what's in the portal, what's available. Particularly, it sounds like it would be more of a two guard, maybe a combo guard that can handle some on-ball duties, but doesn't sound like they're in a huge hurry to add a 15th player to the roster. Again, the Tavion Banks thing is pretty much out of the question at this rate. But if I had to guess, it would be somebody that they feel like can come off the bench and shoot a little bit. But as we know, Ben McCollum is very picky, so they're not gonna go out and just take anybody that's available. So honestly, I'd love to give you names. I'd love to tell you who I think they're gonna go after, but right now it seems really up in the air. I mean, the portal is just crazy. Who's available, who's not. And so I'd love to tell you names, but yeah, really have no idea at this point. We're tracking it as much as we can, but I don't think the staff really necessarily knows either regarding who they want to go after.
I think that does make a whole lot of sense, and maybe almost too early in the process, though, or late in the process for the portal, seeing what they want to do. Plus, you're going to get these guys that are going to start to work out, and the new guys. Speaking of the new guys, the two additions out of the portal for Iowa. I know you've dug deep kind of into both of these guys and the way that they fit. And, the one thing that with both of them, though they're completely different players, one 7'3", the other a 6'1" guard, is how good both of them are in the pick and roll game. And we know what Iowa does a ton. It's a whole lot of sets up front. You got that pick and roll game that's going to be going. Just on the surface, I was like, oh, okay, these guys are all right. But boy, when you kind of look at the fit, it feels like McCollum got exactly what he was looking for.
It does, especially with McKeever in the short roll. His ability to pass out of the pick and roll is really interesting, a really underrated part of his abilities as a basketball player, because you don't look at stats and think, oh my gosh, he's dishing out 5 assists per game. But that's something that you get from a veteran big like him. And then with Coleman, you've got to be able to be a good pick and roll guy, especially in the Missouri Valley Conference, one of the better mid-major conferences in the country. So I think those two will complement each other really well. But then again, you throw in Cale Combs, who had some on-ball duties this last year, and maybe a Tate Sage who has the ball in his hands a little bit more, and that'll be really interesting and really complimentary to McKeever. And Cam Maniau got much better as the year progressed in terms of how his ability to pass in the short roll. So I think having him, assuming he'll come off the bench, having two guys that'll do that are good at that as well, will be definitely something that Iowa and Ben McCollum will want to capitalize on.
I know women's basketball, that's Eichel. He's got that covered, but they're still looking to fill out that roster. Do you have any insight or anything that David has passed along to you about what's going on there? Because currently at 9 players, even if they're players that you don't anticipate are going to play, feels like you still have more work to do for Jan Jensen.
Yeah, they got to fill out that roster, man. I would love to tell you I know what they're going to do. You're calling me for all the answers, and I have none of them. But I don't think Iowa is at a point where they're panicking, as the fan base can and does from time to time. They are one of the blue bloods now. Sure, the last 2 seasons haven't gone the way they wanted them to, especially this year, this spring. But I don't think Iowa is in a situation where they're necessarily doomed, I guess. They've got the talent on the roster. They're still effectively a blue blood at this point. You can capitalize off the Caitlin Clark era still. And maybe you can go international even. And that's not something that I think Jan Jensen would rule out at this point. Maybe you take a flyer on a big or something like that in this class that has some raw ability that isn't quite there in terms of skill, but you could see something pan out down the road. It's obviously not ideal. You'd like to have more players on your roster. It's just for depth's sake at this point. But I think Jan Jensen and company are going to figure it out. The staff has connections. Lysandra Barrett has been a big reason why they've been able to add several players, not just this year, but last year via the portal. So I have a feeling they'll figure it out. I think the concern is absolutely valid, especially being at this point in the off season. But I also think that Jan Jensen and company will figure it out.
Definitely don't want to go into year with 9 players. Couple injuries happen, and you're in a world of hurt if it plays out in that fashion. Eliot Clough joining us, HawkeyeInsider.com. Here on Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network and 106.3 KXNO. Eliot, let's get into football. And before we talk some news and notes coming out of spring and kind of get your perspective on that, Monday night we got to see an all-access feature, part 1, which I'm excited about because there's going to be even more, an inside look into the Iowa Hawkeyes and the football program. Boy, this is something, if you would have said 5 years ago, this is something that's going to be happening, I think you would have been laughed out of the room when you said that. But that kind of inside look, even though it is curated, obviously, by the athletic department and their video staff, and they're not going to put anything out there that the football staff doesn't want in there. Just, it was really cool and something that just don't really think of Kirk Ferentz doing things like this, but he continues to evolve.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It was really interesting. Not something that a lot of folks heard. We'd all love for it to be an hour, but man, I mean, some of the things that you get to see that these kids experience at Iowa, you get to see it more or less firsthand, I guess, and being part of the meeting rooms with even like a Seth Wallace. You get to see Coach Ferentz actually coach with these young offensive linemen. And I really thought it was interesting to see how involved he is day to day. Yeah, I'm aware he's the head coach, but the guy's 70 years old. He could very easily delegate a lot of the things that he does on the day to day, especially in terms of coaching the offensive line with a guy like George Barnett. But no, he's right there involved. I thought that was really interesting. We got to look at a little bit at roster construction with Tyler Barnes, and even Wallace talking about the linebacking group a little bit too. Yeah, it was super interesting. I mean, I think everybody got a little bit excited when the trailer came out for us to see something like that, especially in the off season when we're just sitting on our hands for the next few months, waiting for fall camp to come around to get more content. But yeah, Iowa's creative team is just so good with everything, and hard to expect anything less with something a little bit more long form like that.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like they're ahead of the curve a little bit as far as like releasing that. It felt to me like a Hard Knocks for college, which was really neat. And I'd love to see Iowa State do the same thing. Looking to this upcoming season, I'm wondering what's going on at quarterback. Is it going to be Hecklinski, and is he going to be able to throw it around? I go back to the Iowa State game last year, 83 yards for Gronowski on 13 of 24.
Well,
and that wasn't even the worst one.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, is Iowa going to figure out the passing game this upcoming year? Should I be scared?
Well, you know, I think you should be scared for a lot of reasons covering Iowa State. And I wouldn't put Iowa's passing game at the top of those concerns.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that's not really something that I think people should be concerned about that are playing against Iowa at this rate until proven otherwise. I think Hecklinski and Brown are figuring some things out as we go here. Sorry, my dog's digging in my recliner office. You guys can hear that. Taking you off speaker. Max, hey.
Max.
Okay. I'm sure you've had that happen before on live radio.
Oh yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I wouldn't put that at the top of the concerns. If anything, I think Iowa will be able to run the ball pretty consistently against Iowa State, do a lot of the other things they traditionally do. On the football field in terms of the defensive prowess, the power up front. But yeah, I mean, if they are going to take a step forward, I would imagine, honestly, it would be the talent at receiver that does things more so than Jeremy Hecklinski or Hank Brown, especially early on in the season, considering what we got to see from Reese Vandersby at the end of the year last year. And then DJ Vanami ascending as well. That's tight end, obviously, but throw in Tony Diaz too. And that group is about as talented, at least between those three, as Iowa's top options through the air have been in quite a while.
Eliot, when you look forward, it felt like it became, I think almost all of us liked Hecklinski coming into spring. That race seems very tight. We know kind of what Kirk likes at the quarterback position, how different, how much say and sway is it going to happen for Tim Lester and his choice here. When do you anticipate, though, they will name a starter? It's a long ways away. I get that. But is this something that we're going to know even a couple weeks before we get to that first game of the year? It could be we're waiting for the press notes and the game notes to come out and see in the depth chart, and that's the direction. What would you anticipate when we'll find out who that starter is going to be?
It'll either be the first depth chart, or we'll get a big old "or" right there on the depth chart, and everybody's like, "We're still waiting." So we won't see until that first series. That's what I would imagine, is either we get that first depth chart and it's clear, and we get a Kirk Ferentz telling us that he's rolling with Hecklinski or Brown, or we might even get the depth chart and say Hecklinski's at the top, and we don't have the "or," and Kirk will say, "Yeah, they're still neck and neck. We're not really sure who's going to run out there." That would not surprise me in the slightest. So, it's going to go down to the wire. We're not going to know for a few months here. We're going to be sitting in limbo. And believe me, we're going to be talking to people behind the scenes. I mean, myself included, with the guys, Sean and Dave, through spring, we were really trying to see who has the edge, who has the lead, and it's really tightened up. I mean, personally, and I've said this a few times, I think Hecklinski should be the guy. I don't know about what you guys thought of or what you saw from the open spring practice and the film we got, but I thought Hecklinski was a lot better than people gave him credit for.
Mm-hmm.
I thought his ball placement was really good. I think he throws a really catchable ball. Hank Brown had a few misses, but he also had a few incompletions that were either off the hands of the receiver. There was play or pass interference called, or on a ball that should have been caught, stuff like that. So, yeah, man, I have a feeling we'll be fielding questions like this for a few months. It's going to go down to the wire if I have, any guess right now. If one of them separates in fall camp and it's clear by then, awesome. But for right now, yeah, it feels like it's going to go down right till game week. So it's not game day.
Yeah, I think they're with you. I think we're going to see both quarterbacks in that first game of the year against Northern Illinois. I want to go
okay,
here.
Trent.
Yes, yeah, I'm going out there. I think we're going to see both of them. I think we're going to go back to that. And, well, Eliot, you were not on the beat at the time, but when we've gone through this, oh, boy, it has not been fun, certainly for Iowa fans. And your message boards, they'll be cooking over there at Hawkeye Insider.
Oh, yeah.
Give us a couple, after getting the opportunity to see the guys on Saturday. It's one of 15 practices, I get that. But what are a couple of your top-of-the-fold items that came out of spring practice, came out of the open practice, that are going to stick with you through the spring and summer?
The first thing that comes to mind is linebacker and how those guys line up, whether Buffington, it sounds like Buffington's going to play the Mike Montgomery at the will, which is an interesting combination. We're not usually used to seeing smaller, compact guys at linebacker, period, for Iowa, let alone at that will spot, where they prefer to have a guy who's a little bit longer and athletic. So moving Montgomery over there will be interesting, assuming that does happen and continues into the fall. But that Leo linebacker spot is really interesting too, because we initially thought that Van Kiekrix would be in the fold for the will position, but it's sounding more like he and Weiskopf have really had a solid competition at the Leo, that third linebacker spot that Iowa goes to in their more traditional base defense with the 4-3. So those two are competing. All the while, Preston Reese has been on the sideline with an injury, so he hasn't been competing, and he's a guy that a lot of people loved after what he's done on special teams. So that Leo spot, though it's not a guy that's on the field constantly, it is one that's obviously really important, especially in the red zone. So to see who comes out and ends up with the ones will be interesting, especially factoring in the youth of Weiskopf and Reese as guys who are entering their third year, whereas Van Kiekrix is entering his fifth year. So will be one to track there. Who plays free safety and cash? If it's Lutmer at cash, or if he's sticking at free safety like he played during the spring game, with Jacob Wallace at cash would be really, really interesting as a redshirt freshman, but getting put into such an important position. Or if Anthony Hawkins does start to rise up and plays that free safety spot with Lutmer at cash. That's what I expected. And then we got to the open spring game, and there it is. They're playing different positions. Center and right guard, Cade Pieper, where is he going to be playing? He's arguably your best offensive lineman. To me, I still give that to Trevor Lau. But is he going to be playing center? Is he going to be playing right guard? Before Myslinski was sidelined, this is one thing I pointed out in the All Access, is that before Myslinski was sidelined in the spring, he was playing center with Pieper at right guard, at least in one of the clips that we saw. So those would be the main things that stick out to me. How well does Tony Diaz play when we get to see him? That'll be really interesting. And then, of course, quarterback. But to me, I mean, you look at like strong safety. I think Tyler Brown has that locked up. Deshaun Lee is cornerback 1, who plays cornerback 2 between Jalen Watson and Rashad Godfrey. Does Jacob Wallace, if Lutmer subsumes the cash position, is Wallace competing for time at corner? Like, is he one of those guys? So a lot of things to follow yet that isn't just quarterback. This team is going to have a lot of new faces on the field after losing a ton of guys that were staples in the lineup, between like a Carson Shire, Logan Jones, Jennings Dunker, Bo Stevens. I mean, you just go down the line. You lose Cohen Entringer and Xavier Wampa, TJ Hall. Like, it's going to be a lot of new faces that are going to be seeing the field this year.
Defensive tackle, I think, is going to be the biggest question coming into the year.
Oh,
and
yeah.
If there was ever a year and a time that you wish the spring portal was back, certainly be that one, because we didn't get a glimpse of a lot of the new guys either, the transfers that they brought in. And maybe that's a part of it, but Bryce Hawthorne, he's got to take a leap and he's got to become a stud, because I don't know how much help he's going to get inside.
Yeah, he will. I think he said something about an MCL that kept him out for the spring. So that's obviously not ideal.
No.
But he is your top DT, and I think it's Bryce Hawthorne, big gap, and then everybody else. But it sounds like it could be Devin Kennedy that subsumes that second DT role. He's a guy that's long, has some NFL pedigree, obviously, with his dad, Jimmy. I think it's Jimmy, being a first-round NFL pick, or draft pick from Penn State back in the day. A guy with some of that pedigree to him. Brad Fitzgibbon, a kid from the Chicago area, Catholic League. That league is always loaded. Out of Marist, super violent. He's a guy that doesn't necessarily rack up a ton of a ton of stats, but I like to call it the effing the play up stat. He's pretty good at that. And then you go down to some of the transfers like a Bryce Stevenson and Emmanuel Olagbaju. Olagbaju, had a source describe him to me as like the Hulk. He's a big boy. And high school teammates with Bryce Hawthorne. So maybe they have some of that chemistry from back in the day. Maybe they end up playing together a little bit. So yeah, that's one I should have mentioned. Defensive line, defensive end, the whole defensive line, really. I mean, you bring back Hawthorne and Kenneth Merriweather, who weren't starters, but they'll be key on the defensive line this year. Is Jose Epineza, does he end up being a starter? I was thinking about this morning. I don't think people realize how big of a loss Brian Allen is now with the portal. Dude was a physical freak, really explosive. We got to see that in bits and pieces, but I think he wanted to go somewhere where he could really tee off on the quarterback, and that's just not what Iowa does with their two-gap system. So, big loss, especially a guy that knew what was happening, knew what was going on. And no shade to the transfers, but that's tough to replace a guy who's been in the program for so long. Kamari Brown will be one to watch that fills in that defensive end spot. Super violent guy out of Elon too. So violent, quick, tough. So he'll be one to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, hopefully Olagbaju he looks like Hulk, and hopefully he doesn't play like Bruce Banner on that front. Out of time for today, Eliot. Always good catching up with you. We'll talk to you again soon down the road. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
HawkeyeInsider.com. Eliot Clough joining us here on Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network. Quick timeout, back on the other side. Put a cap on hour number 1. Stay right there. It's Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network.
There's just something about a night at the ballpark. Good baseball, good company, and time together with the people you care about. That's what you'll find when you go to an Iowa Cubs game. Bring your family and friends and enjoy the sights and sounds of the game inside Principal Park. Every pitch, every cheer, every moment feels like summer. Come see the stars of the future and be part of a tradition that's been bringing people together for generations. Tickets are waiting for you at iowacubs.com.
Now here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website, media. That's media. Enter it now. KXNO.com.
In this edition of the Marketers Report, Chris Eppel, head of marketing for the Americas, Harman JBL, weighs in on the importance of audio.
It's been amazing over the last couple of years to see what's happened with audio. We've doubled our investment in the last 2 years in the audio space. We find it to be highly critical to our business.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia connects marketers to the audiences, live conversations, and trusted influencers you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartAdvertising.com.
That red talkback mic on the free iHeart app, it's more powerful than it looks. One tap can get you in the conversation.
You guys, are you serious?
Enter to win something amazing. That $1,000 or just a request. Try it now. Just open the free iHeart Radio app.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from IQ Bar. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at eatiqbar.com/policy/terms of service.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? there's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ Bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Now you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping when you text radio to 64,000. Text radio to 64,000 to get your 20% off. That's radio to 64,000.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text EDGE to 321-321 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text EDGE to 321-321. That's EDGE to 321-321.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
At Thrasher Foundation Repair, we promise you an experience so remarkable, you'll want to leave us a 5-star review. From wet basements to bowing walls, sinking concrete to nasty crawl spaces, whatever your home's facing, you can count on Thrasher to fix it right. With over 34,000 5-star reviews and 50 years as a local family-owned company, Thrasher is a name homeowners trust. Schedule your free home inspection today at gothrasher.com.
For 25 years, 106.3 KXNO has been the heartbeat of Iowa sports. From Friday night lights to championship dreams, we've been there for every play. Here's to the fans, the teams, and the passion that keeps us going. 106.3 KXNO, Des Moines sports station for 25 years and counting. Ken Miller, Trent Condon, Miller and Condon on 106.3 KXNO and the Iowa Sports Radio Network.
Put a cap on our number one, Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network. Trent Condon here, Nick Marovets across from me as we get into a little bit of everything. Some breaking news here just a little bit ago. Joel Embiid will be out for the Sixers tonight. And we talked about Anthony Edwards, him being questionable. So injuries, as always, we go through this whole year, the tanking situation in the NBA, Nick, everything that's gone along with that, and the frustration if you're even a casual NBA watcher, how difficult the regular season is, and all these guys sitting out all the time. It just continues in the playoffs. What is it about the sport? What is it about the NBA? Is it the sheer volume of games? Is it the 82? Is it the strain of the body that they're putting on there? Because year after year after year, it's not just a regular season thing. Injuries impact the playoffs seemingly every single year.
Yeah, maybe it's the hardwood. I mean, I don't know. Is it because do they need to resort to playing on glass like Iowa State did? What are we? I cannot believe how many games they miss. And I'm not saying that they're not getting hurt. It's just that it feels different. Maybe there's always the argument too, like from my exercise science background, that humans are developing such a way to get strong at a rate where their ligaments can't actually keep up. And so that's like, back in the 80s and the 90s, we just didn't know how to get that strong and fast. And it just wasn't really something that the body had to handle. Now, all of those ligaments, you're coming in at, let's say, 18 miles an hour, cutting hard and looking the other way. All of those knee ligaments have to, the energy has to go somewhere. Yeah. If those aren't strong enough, I'm not saying that's the reason, but it's puzzling. It really is.
No Embiid, likely no Anthony Edwards tonight. Well, that's my own, I guess, usage there of the word likely. We'll see on that front. He is listed as questionable, but they got game one, and that goes a long, long ways on that one. A quick question here before we run out of time. This is normally noon to 2. This is old guy radio. Yep. It's two old guys. You're not an old guy. How do you consume sports? Because Ken and I were both DirecTV guys, and then we complain about having to use the input button and jumping over and going over to Peacock, as I mentioned with the T-Wolves game the other night. Are you a streamer? How do you consume your sports?
I'm a YouTube TV guy when it's possible because they got like the quad box,
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
And so that's really nice where I don't necessarily have to jump between games. And the really cool thing with that is I can have 4 games up, one that I'm focused on, click on the one I want to watch big screen. When it goes to commercial, back out, keep tabs on the other ones.
Okay.
That's my preferred way, which is why yesterday when you brought up like, oh, Peacock, it's exclusive on there. I'm like, well, great. Now I got to back out of my YouTube TV, go into there, check on it, or watch it on my phone. It's just, it adds a whole another level of, it's a first world problem, but I don't love it. So yeah, YouTube TV so far has been my favorite.
Yes. And DirecTV, I've said for years, I'm going to change. And then you get another deal and all right, we'll stick around for another 6 months, another year, and those kind of things. But of all the streamers, boy, people talk about YouTube TV and obviously the DirecTV or the connection now to Sunday Ticket.
Yeah.
Might be time for a switch after decades of DirecTV.
Wow, that would be big for you.
Absolutely, big change. Coming up next, we got David Kaplan stopping by. We'll talk Chicago sports with him. We'll look at the Bears, the Cubs, the White Sox, the Bulls, all coming up next. Miller and Connick continues on the Iowa Sports Radio Network.
You've heard me rave about Kitchen Refresh. They updated our kitchen in just a few days for a fraction of the cost of the custom cabinets that I was pricing out with no demo. That's why Kitchen Refresh has installed over 500 kitchens. You can still use your space while they work. You don't even have to empty cabinets. Your kitchen, bath, bar, or laundry room will get a completely new look with lightning fast speed without sacrificing quality. Go to kitchenrefreshiowa.com for your free in-home consultation. Tell them Heather said they could help.
Dirty ducks and they clean just right. Hey, Brian Leach here with Service Legends, where we have a flair for clean air. Allow me to explain. Let's start with the here and now, before your visit from my home comfort heroes. The before's a duct system full of some of the nastiest stuff that's ever been in your home. Years of pollen, pet dander, insect debris, and dust mite poop layered in your dirty ducts. And what comes after is a visit from the home comfort heroes, who have a flair for clean air. My guys and gals will spend 4 hours with your dirty ducts utilizing Service Legends' proprietary 11-step source removal process that I guarantee would pass the Marriott White Glove test. If you're inclined to experience the flair for clean air, my home comfort heroes are standing by. Call today to breathe cleaner, fresher, healthier air tomorrow.
Call 515-COMFORT. We fix it right or it's free. Service Legends.
With iHeart, everything you hear is guaranteed human. That's why 78% of listeners trust their favorite radio host's product recommendations. If you manage a business or need to drive sales, that trust goes a long way. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com. Again, that's iHeartAdvertising.com.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment.
Visit mintmobile.com/radio. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. Default terms at mintmobile.com.
I think you all know by now that the Chicken Coop is one of my favorite places to go for a cold one and great food. And their new made-from-scratch menu has me going back even more. Their signature wings with 12 different sauces. The Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich. And you got to try the new Big B chopped cheese. And the Chicken Coop has 3 locations. Urbandale, West Des Moines, and Ankeny. Wherever you are in the metro, the Chicken Coop has you covered.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, You can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
If recent hail may have impacted your home, contact Wolf Roofing. Our Hague certified inspectors provide free, honest assessments the Wolf way. And Wolf Roofing has been serving Central Iowa and the state of Iowa since 1993. If you're concerned about hail damage, reach out to Wolf Roofing. Free Hague certified inspectors deliver accurate, insurance trusted roof assessments you can rely on. Thorough, honest, the Wolf way. Check out Wolf Roofing online, wolfroofing.net.
KXNO AM Des Moines, KXNO FM Ankeny, KKDM HD2 Des Moines. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, sports talk, and podcasts.
Miller and Condon on 106.3 KXNO is sponsored by TC Sports, LLC.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama are two of the NBA's most unique problems. Dominant big men capable of taking over games in a variety of ways. But through discipline and clear defensive identity, the Timberwolves may have found as much of a workable blueprint as possible. Rather than allowing elite bigs to dictate the game in the paint, Minnesota has made it a priority to force them outside, pushing both stars onto the perimeter, daring them to win from less comfortable spots. Rudy Gobert, central to that strategy. The result has been telling. Against Denver, the Timberwolves held Joker under 20% from three, below 45% from the floor. Against San Antonio, the same formula resurfaced last night. Wembanyama still made his presence felt with 12 blocks, but he had just 11 points. You may not stop stars like Joker and Wemby. You're just trying to contain them. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. When money's tight and you're behind, it can be tough to play catch up. But Liberty Mutual can help you make a comeback, a fourth quarter go-ahead drive, if you will. Liberty Mutual is clutch by customizing your car and home insurance to save you money, especially when you bundle. It's insurance built for real people with a team that works hard to help keep more of what matters most in your pocket, money. Liberty, 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 Liberty. Get a quote at libertymutual.com or with your local independent agent, libertymutual.com. 2 words, prostate exam. Relax. Screening starts with a simple finger-free blood test. Around 1 in 8 men in the United States will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in their lifetime. Prostate cancer can have over a 99% 5-year relative survival rate when caught at a localized or regional stage. If you're 40 or over and have a prostate, visit relaxitsabloodtest.com to see if a PSA blood test is right for you. Talk to your doctor about screening and the next steps. Sponsored by Novartis.
Live and local every weekday. This is where sports fans in Iowa come together on Des Moines Sports Station, 106.3 KXNO.
For 75 years, NCMIC has been doing the right thing for its customers, employees, and the community. Now, here's Miller and Condon, 106.3 KXNO. Ken Miller, Trent Condon. This is Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network.
Hour number 2, welcome back. It's Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network. Trent Condon joined today by Nick Marovets from Locked On Cyclones. Little Blues Brothers coming back here. Now, you're a youngster. Bring it up often. Have you seen the Blues Brothers?
I haven't, but I was just thinking, this is really good. I'm going to listen to this later.
There you go. So it's from a movie, I believe 1980 it was released. David Kaplan joins us. This is his intro music. Little Sweet Home Chicago as we go to Chicago. Now the Catman, yet another youngster that has not watched the Blues Brothers. It feels like this is becoming more and more the norm, sadly. But Cappy, I have a little insider information with Ken away today. Ken's never seen Blues Brothers.
Ken hasn't either?
No. And as he is nearing retirement, I feel comfortable now saying it so you can yell at him next Wednesday.
Okay. How old is Ken? 80, 79?
67, I believe.
How can you be in that age
and
not have seen the Blues Brothers? It's one of the most iconic films of the 80s.
He's Canadian. That's his only excuse. That's the only thing I could come up with. How somebody of that age, of that era, has not seen the movie is completely befuddling. And he likes movies. He likes comedy. I don't get it. I can't wrap my mind. So you have to peer pressure him, make him watch the movie before his retirement date comes here, coming up here at the end of June.
God bless, man. I don't understand it, but yeah, it's a great movie. Great.
Absolutely is. And Nick, you put that on your list too, okay?
It's on there.
That is homework for you going forward. Well, Cappy, let's get into Chicago sports. Before we get it to the here and now, you told me that you're rewatching a game from 28 years ago because it is the anniversary. It is what dubbed the Kerry Wood game, 1998. I was a senior in high school. I remember the game vividly. There's a story with a couple of guys here locally that had tickets for the game, made it as far east as Altoona and Prairie Meadows, stopped to have a couple of pulls out there and didn't make it to the game. Cappy, you were there though. Take us back 28 years ago and the incredible performance from Kerry Wood.
So I was working the game. I was in the booth and, we're excited to watch Kerry pitch. It's, the beginning, the infancy of his big league career. He's a great dude, and he's a guy they drafted, I think, 4th overall. He throws just gas. And we're like, oh, this will be fun. It was chilly. It was probably colder than it is today, May 6, 1998. And the crowd got bigger as the game went on because he struck out Biggio to start the game, fastball up. The first pitch of the game, he hit the umpire in the mask. Like Sandy Martinez was our backup catcher. He's catching that day. First pitch, shoot, and it goes right past his glove and hits Jerry Meals, the umpire, right in the face. And Jerry Meals takes his mask off. He's looking at it, and even Chip Carey and Steve Stone are like, okay, this guy's got some otherworldly stuff today. He strikes out Biggio, and then up comes Derek Bell, who at that point was hitting .403, leading baseball. He strikes him out, and then he gets Jeff Bagwell. 1, 2, 3. We're like, oh, that was cool. And it just kept piling up, and the crowd just kept getting bigger. And there was this dude who's now deceased. His son has done a bunch of interviews. He would make K's, like at the FedEx Kinko store, and he would always hang them up when Kerry pitched. Well, he ran out, and so they had to get more, and they're putting the K's up. It was insane. And then the last out was Derek Bell. Kerry later told me that's when he injured his elbow on that last pitch of that game. And the next year he ends up having to have Tommy John. He snapped off one of the most wicked pitches. He called it a slurve. And it was so insane. It breaks 5 feet. Derek Bell has no chance. That's 20. And the game is over. And you hear Pat Hughes make the call. Ron Santos right there. And Ronnie's line was, we may not have won a World Series, but this kid keeps pitching this way. We will. And boom, he strikes out Derek Bell. And you hear this idiot in the background of the broadcast screaming. That's me hugging Joe Montana, the actor. Yeah, that's a true story. We're like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. And, Kerry went on to have, by his thoughts, probably a disappointing career because of injury. But that is the single highest graded pitching performance in the history of Major League Baseball.
That 1998 team, the Cubs team that made a run into the playoffs. And Kerry Wood, when you look back, you mentioned the injury and the injury that happened in that game. Is he one of the biggest Chicago sports what ifs? If injuries obviously were different. Who else is on that list?
Mark Pryor.
Okay, yes.
For sure.
Yep.
And then Derek Rose has to be on that list. Gale Sayers, who although he went to the Hall of Fame, his career was cut short after I think 6 or 7 seasons because of 2 severe knee injuries, and we didn't have the treatments that we have today. It was late 60s, early 70s when he got hurt. So Gale Sayers certainly belongs on that list. Like, there's a handful where you go, God, if that guy would have stayed healthy. But I think it's got to be Wood, Pryor, and Derrick Rose at the top.
Yeah, that's a really good list. And for Chicago fans, certainly a sad list. Well, we go from 28 years ago, that seems impossible, to today. And this Cubs team continues to play great baseball, couple of walk-offs in a row. Not doing it against Pagan on 2 nights ago shouldn't count because I saw that guy's work. And sadly, he went down with a hamstring injury. But this Cubs team, I mean, does it feel special? Does it feel different? Is it just a team going through a hot streak? How do you see it in the here and now with this Cubs squad?
Well, what did I say to you guys before the season?
They're going
to
be
good.
Good.
Pull the tapes because it's on there. I told you they can win the World Series, and I actually have a ticket on them to win the World Series. I do. I truly believe that this team is right there to win it all. They are outstanding, the best defensive team in the game. You got Gold Glove second base, Gold Glove shortstop, Gold Glove third base, Gold Glove left fielder, Gold Glove center fielder, Suzuki catching. That team can absolutely win it if they're willing to go out and pay the price. I don't mean in money. I mean in prospect capital, and go get a top-end starter whenever one of those gets moved, whether that's Sandy Alcantara or somebody else. That team, if they stay healthy, they can win the World Series.
Maybe my favorite play was the pickoff play the other night against De La Cruz, where you had Bush kind of cheating off of first base and then just the timing play and to nab a guy with that kind of speed. Now, he was leading a little bit too. And then the crowd and the reaction and hearing Bush's home run. And that's why, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'm not a Cubs fan. So it just feels a little bit different there. When you win 13 games in a row at Wrigley too, that's going to help. Right. I think people are a little bit more making their way in, happy. But just, do you have that different type of feeling with this group?
I do. I truly do. They've got veterans. They've got chemistry. They've got, a bunch of pitching injuries. No Justin Steele, no Cade Horton. Steele may walk through that door later in the season after the All-Star break. Cade Horton's probably gone all the next year. But you have veteran leadership, big hits in big spots. The other night, Craig Counsell pulls all the right buttons. He pushes, okay, I want Conforto to hit here for Shaw. Bam, game-winning home run. Like, right now, they're on that roll, and they've won 7 in a row, 13 in a row. They have won 17 of their last 20. That's how you build leads in divisions. So we'll see what happens.
And a division that still appears to be very good. We see the return back out there is Palencia. So you get your closer back. The bullpen starting to find its footing, it feels like, and roles being a little bit more clearly defined. When you go through and we talked just a couple of weeks ago about all these injuries, and it wasn't just with the Chicago Cubs, it was the Iowa Cubs, and it was AA, and all the way through the organization. How things are bouncing back here, and how good you feel about Palencia and the rest of that bullpen now.
Yeah, watching Palencia hit 101 when he pitched yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
I think it was yesterday.
Yep.
He pitched really well. I mean, he has just got an electric arm, and now he's got some experience, and he pitched in big games. So I'm excited to see where this thing goes. They still need, as I said, one more elite level starter. I mean, look, if you can get Sandy Alcantara, you're going to pay through the nose in prospect capital. But tomorrow, I keep saying it here, tomorrow's promised to no one.
Mm-hmm.
You could wake up with this exact team next year and go, oh my God, we've got 6 guys on the 60-day IL, season over. Talked to the Braves a year ago.
Yeah.
What happened to them? Right now, you're living this. If the right deal presents itself, you got to do it.
Go in, and it's a short playoff series. Anything can happen when we get to the postseason. We've certainly seen that in the past. We go from the Cubs across town, something that hasn't happened very often in our conversations, probably the last, 5-6 years, Cappy. But the White Sox, they're in the right division. That helps because the AL Central, as there's no 500 at this point in time. I still don't think this is a team that can contend, even in a terrible division for a crown, but I hope for the White Sox.
Yeah, the Sox are playing good baseball. I mean, they play this afternoon I'll be watching it in my studio, and they literally, if they had won, I think they would have been in first place. First. I don't know who had that on their bingo card. I didn't think they'd be bad, but I didn't think they'd be good. So we'll see how they do today. I'm not sure they're going to go add on to the degree that the Cubs, the Yankees, teams like that will. And they're probably not in their window to win yet. Their contention window hasn't opened, but they're better than they get credit for, and it's super cool to watch.
If we do get to late July and they're hanging around whatever the race looks like, but they're in there, how much financial flexibility do you anticipate? Yeah, they're not going to go out probably for some big ticket items, but are we working around the periphery, or are they willing to go out there and spend for a couple of higher price veterans that are out there?
So I was talking to a GM not in Chicago, but he's a friend of mine, and we were just BSing about the willingness to add on at the deadline. And he said, "Bro, let me tell you something. Let me teach you something." I said, "Tell me." He said, "Money never plays into it at the deadline. Never." He said, "That's the biggest misnomer that's out there. It's all about what prospects they want from your system." For example, the Cubs tried to get Mackenzie Gore or Joe Ryan last year. And the price was, and I confirmed this with multiple people who would know, the price was from the Minnesota Twins. Okay, we want Matt Shaw, we want Cade Horton, and we want Owen Casey.
That's pretty good for
And
the
the Cubs
Twins.
went, "Okay, we'll see you later. Thanks a lot."
Yeah.
And then the Washington Nationals wanted some variation of a deal just like that. And so it makes no sense because you traded Casey for Cabrera. Matt Shaw plays almost every day for you. And Cade Horton, I know he got hurt, but he was your number one starter. So why would you do that? That's the decision Jed's going to have to make if the Marlins, for example, say, "Okay, you can have Alcantara. You're taking all the money, so the rest of this year and all of next year," and then he walks. He's a free agent unless you get him extended. And then they're going to ask you for Pedro Ramirez, and they're going to ask you for Jackson Wiggins, your number one pitching prospect, who's banged up right now, but I think he's going to be okay. And then they're going to ask you for maybe the kid they drafted, Ethan Conrad, who's a big-time outfield prospect. Okay, so I'm giving you a number one starter, and I'm giving you two starters in your lineup, and I'm getting a year and 2 months of Sandy Alcantara. You better win the World Series. That's why you're in it.
Pressure would be on, no doubt. I want to jump over to the Bulls with you quickly, Cap, and they have a, whatever the title that they're using, basketball operations TV, something like that. Somebody in the front office, they get the guy from the Hawks. Now, it felt like for a while maybe he was trending towards the GM of the T-Wolves, Matt Lloyd, getting the job there in Chicago. Give us some insight into that and a glimmer of hope for the Bulls that maybe they found the right person to get this thing turned around.
Yeah, he's doing his press conference right now as we speak, and I'm going to watch it. I'm taping it in my studio, and I'm going to watch it. But everyone I've talked to in the league, I scouted in that league for 4 years, they love this guy.
Okay.
An outstanding evaluator of talent and a great communicator of the message, which Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley were the single worst front office that I've ever covered in my career in nearly 40 years. So I'm excited to see what he does, who he hires as a coach. I would think they have the most cap space in the league at almost $60 million. I would think there's nobody really out there to sign in terms of a big ticket. You're not signing LeBron James or an older player because you're not ready to win. But what I do think they could do is say, okay, you want to park money on my cap for a year? I'll give you a name, Dorian Finney-Smith. You want me to take him off your book? Done. I want your first-round pick for the next 2 years. Something like that, and all of a sudden you have all these assets, and in 2 years, that's when you get creative.
There's definitely a team that is built to win now, and that is at Soldier Field, the Chicago Bears. We talked about the draft with you last week, Cappy. I want to talk about one of those draft picks and a lot of consternation that I saw online. Now we know what social media is, and it's a cesspool all over the place. But the Sam Roush pick in the third round, another tight end. People say, you already got Loveland a year ago. You got Komet there for another season. What are they doing? I think you and I both know, certainly Ben Johnson, the way things are built in a lot of two tight end sets. But did you see the same kind of blowback? And did you like the Roush pick?
I loved the pick when I made calls and found out from people who know more about him than I do. I loved that. See, we ran, I think Durham Smythe played 270 some snaps last year. He's no longer here. He was our third tight end.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3 tight end personnel that Ben likes to use. Probably third most, I think was the breakdown I saw, third most in the NFL. So if you're going to let Cole Kmet walk after next season, you're going to need a replacement. And if they like this guy, and Ben said, that's my guy, I want him, then go get him. The GM's job is not only to build the team, to get his coach the players he wants to work with.
A lot of pressure on the defense to take a step forward. They were so banged up a year ago, and maybe one of the guys facing the most pressure coming into the year is going to be Tyreek Stevenson. How do you think he settles in this season on the other side, opposite Jalen Johnson? You feel good. Stevenson, is there another level he can get to?
There better be. If he wants to get paid.
Yeah.
You know, we all remember the Hail Mary screw up where he's off partying with the fans in the corner. However, Tyreek Stevenson made that same mistake again this year, just not as egregiously and not as visibly. And Kevin Byard, my guy, ran over and grabbed him and said, bro, the play is not over. And he got him away from there. Those are immature moves that cannot continue to happen. And he's out of contract after this year. So if he harbors any desire on getting paid, and I don't mean a one-year deal, I'm talking about like a 4-year big money deal, he's got to have a hell of a year. He's talented enough to do it.
They went out and they brought in a bunch of defensive tackles, drafted one in the 6th round, and then a bunch of undrafted guys too, where they just throw it a bunch against the wall here. Grady Jarrett, Dexter, both those guys, they're veterans, but just hoping to find something there at the defensive tackle position and building up some kind of depth.
Yes, and they believe better health having Jalen Johnson back. He was out most of the year. Having Kyler Gordon out, he's back. He was out most of the year. Having those guys back, plus don't forget Austin Booker didn't play to week 9 last year. They believe he can become a double-digit sack guy. So if they're right, and if Dexter in a final year of a deal plays better, they believe they've got what they need on their defensive line. They better be right. That's all I'll say.
Austin Booker, does he have like the wingspan of like an 8-foot guy? Boy, it feels like he has long arms. Is that just the way he looks, or do you know, did he have like a huge wingspan when he was in the draft a couple of years ago?
He does have a big-time wingspan, and he has a great motor.
Yes.
When I was scouting, the thing I always looked at first, obviously you have to have the natural ability. You walk in the gym, and if the guy's a 6'3" power forward, you know he's not going to the NBA. But if he measures out right, if he has a motor, if you have a motor, you can't teach motor. Either you got a work ethic or you don't. You can lie to yourself, but the man in the mirror will never lie to you. You know if you've got a worker, I mean a grinder who gets up every day. I don't feel like doing this. And they find a way to get it done. That's who Austin Booker is. So if he's healthy, I think he's got a chance to have a hell of a year.
There he is, David Kaplan, Centurion Stone of Iowa. It sponsors our conversation each and every week. Cap, appreciate it. And next week, you got to have Ken give him a hard time about the Blues Brothers, okay?
Yeah, tell Ken he's better than that.
I was hoping. Peer pressure is going to work. We'll get him to do it, all right?
Have a great day.
You too. That's David Kaplan. He's got a lot in front of him. He's rewatching the Kerry Wood game. General manager press conference with Bryson Graham taking over for the Bulls. A busy afternoon for the Cappy, and appreciate his time. Chicago sports. You're not a Chicago guy.
Not really.
No. You missed the window of the Bulls.
Yep.
Too young for that when the Bulls were the thing.
Yes.
I mean, everywhere. A huge one. Never had the pull of any of the Cubs, the Bears, nothing. Even in Eastern Iowa.
To say, yeah, it was, when you lay it out like that, it makes sense. It would make sense for me to be in that camp, but just so happened to be a Patriots guy,
yes.
Which I know that we've gone through that story, and it is what it is.
And there's a lot of people of your age that also are Patriot fans.
Yes, I'm aware of that. But no, I just think with all of the other sports, I kind of ended up falling into more of a bandwagon type of watching situation. And admittedly, none of the Chicago teams were that good.
Yeah. And that's a part of it too, because I told this story. So I grew up right next to the Minnesota border on the correct side of it, on the Iowa side of the border. And everybody, though, was Minnesota sports fans. It was the North Stars. It was Timberwolves weren't a thing yet, but it was the North Stars, the Vikings, and the Twins. Well, I was 7. The Twins won the World Series. That was pretty easy.
Yeah.
When I was in kindergarten, the Bears won the Super Bowl. I jumped aboard on that one. So that's why everything except for the Bears are Minnesota sports teams and what I root for, just because that's really what everybody did. And then I want to be a little sucker and yell, my grandpa yelling at the TV and swearing things at him as he's watching the Vikings. I'm like, I'm going to root for this other team that's a lot better and does the Super Bowl shuffle. That seems a lot more fun. And then then over the last 40 years, it's been a lot of sadness.
Quite the same. Yeah, no, I'm an outlier generally growing up. We didn't have a lot of sports on in the house. And so I kind of had my free reign. Like, generally fandom gets passed down to you and the generational trauma is laid upon you and you have to deal with it. I was like, this team looks good. I guess they're in the Super Bowl every year.
Yes,
And it's worked out pretty well.
You've had plenty of successes, no doubt. That's Nick Marovets hanging out with me today here on Miller and Condon. We're going to take a quick time out, come back on the other side, a lot more to get into. And I got a question for Nick as he covers the Cyclones on a daily basis with Locked On Cyclones, a podcast, and on YouTube. How do you cover this football team with all these new faces? That's coming up next year on Miller and Condon.
This June, the Legends of Golf return to Des Moines. The 2026 Principal Charity Classic at Wakanda Club, June 10th through 14th, where legends of the game compete, and every swing helps support Iowa youth. Bring the whole family. Tickets start at just $25, and kids 15 and under get in free. Get your tickets now at principalcharityclassic.com. The Principal Charity Classic, because out here, it's more than golf.
Your one-stop for advertising? 844-844-iHeart.
The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. Trent Condon here for Circa Sports. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Urology Center of Iowa has a dedicated men's health wellness center designed to restore your confidence and your comfort and put you back in control. Get a clear plan, a private tailored experience, and judgment-free care at iowauro.com.
Texting rolls you into recurring automated consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
I've got to share this. Nugenix Total T2 has been a game changer in helping boost total testosterone. My energy is up. I feel leaner, stronger, and more like myself again. Nugenix Total T2 uses a brand new formula fueling performance in and out of the gym. Join the thousands of men who are seeing results.
Text LIKE to 215-215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2. LIKE to 215-215.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
We all know moms work hard, and Menards makes it easy to shop for perfect Mother's Day gifts that will show her how much you care. We've got great gifts for mom. Spend more time outdoors with our impressive selection of patio furniture, whether relaxing in style or adding color and beauty to a backyard space. Trust Menards to help you make this Mother's Day just as special as she is. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on menards.com.
Save big money at Menards.
Class of 2026, it's your year. Celebrate the music that fueled late night crams, hallway hangs, and every unforgettable moment with iHeartRadio's Ultimate Class of 2026 playlist. The soundtrack to your senior year and beyond. But we didn't stop there. Whether you graduated in 95, 05, or just last year, we've got a playlist for your class too. Search Class of and the year you graduated on the free iHeartRadio app and relive your glory days, one song at a time.
Jen and Trent are back in 60 seconds, right here on 106.3 KXNO.
I keep seeing celebrities post me in the 90s versus now. Well, the person staring at me in the mirror is definitely not the same person that could pull off bootcut jeans. Time creeps up on us so slowly. You don't see it until suddenly you do. Same thing goes for your bills. $1 here, an uptick there. It's a slow burn until one day you realize the price you're paying now is way higher than when you signed up. But at T-Mobile, customers have the lowest wireless bills versus Verizon and AT&T over the past 5 years. And with T-Mobile on their experience plans, you get a 5-year price guarantee, so you know exactly what your plan price will be for the next 5 years. So at least that's one thing that won't change over time. I can't guarantee you'll still look good with frosted tips, but T-Mobile can give you a clear guarantee on your wireless plan.
Lower bills based on Paris X billing snapshots from Q3 21 to Q4 25 compared to average AT&T and Verizon bills. Comparison excludes discounts, credits, and optional charges. Price guarantee and talk text and data exclusions of taxes and fees and funds. See T-Mobile.com.
Maybe you're thinking about franchising your business or purchasing a franchise. There's an experienced and trustworthy franchise lawyer right in your backyard. Don't waste your time or money searching for a lawyer out of state when Rush Niggett is here and ready to help your business.
Hi, I'm Rush. I specialized in business and franchise law for the past 25 years. I don't just want to be your lawyer. I want your business to succeed as much as you do.
Your business needs Rush. Visit his award-winning blog at rushonbusiness.com. It's good to have Rush on your side.
Miller and Condon on 106.3 KXNO and the Iowa Sports Radio Network.
On Wednesday, Miller and Condon continues on the Iowa Sports Radio Network. Trent Condon, Nick Marovets hanging out with you today. Nick, host of the Locked On Cyclones podcast, daily Iowa State content each and every day. Talk to the world of Iowa State, but we're getting to the offseason.
We really are. I gotta say, you've been playing some years.
Oh, yeah, you're like the music, huh? Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Green Day earlier?
Yes, absolutely. The Weezer. Enjoy my Weezer. I was listening to Weezer on the golf course when I was golfing in South Carolina a couple of weeks back.
You play music on the golf course?
I do, yeah. Always try to keep it very low, though, in case, because there's still some people that do not enjoy any kind of music out there. Depends on the company you're with, also. I played a little bit by myself.
Oh, yeah. A little Jimmy Buffett or something? You feel like
no Jimmy Buffett. What? I'm not a parrot head. No, not at all. You're a parrot head, huh?
I cannot believe you just.
I can't believe that. It doesn't do it for me.
Oh, I will just throw on Jimmy Buffett for no reason.
You will.
What are we doing here, Trent?
Yes. So when you go, it's Jimmy Buffett for you. What else old stuff do you like?
Oh, man. Well, see, I thought you were going to go beach vibe.
Oh,
because that's beach vibe for me. Anytime we're at like the Ozarks, right? Involved, Jimmy Buffett is on. It absolutely is. Does not have a super long selection of songs that we play. I'm not gonna lie, and say I've got hours of Jimmy Buffett going, but it has to be we've hit absolutely old school. I mean, how old are we talking? 80s from now is 45 years ago, right?
You feel old.
I've just got to throw the facts.
Well, because when Ken's here, I play a lot of 70s stuff for Ken, and I like most of it. Most of it's pretty good. It's things that I usually pick myself, so they're usually songs that I also have good enjoyment with. So. Growing up, I think everybody has that certain time where you go back. Maybe as a youngster, it was the pop music. It was those kind of things. You jump in. For me, New Kids on the Block, Michael Jackson, Prince, as we talked about yesterday. And then you start to evolve a little bit. But my first peek back was the Steve Miller Band.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, a lot of bangers in there.
There really are.
I know some people from the era hate Steve Miller, but when you're kind of going back in the archives, that's one. But I think my favorite, and I had a long stretch, I love Led Zeppelin.
Oh,
yes. That was, I believe, the first cassette tape I had for my car.
There you go.
Cassette tape.
Was it an 8-track?
No, not that old. Not that old. It was a cassette tape. And then you had to use the cassette tape CD player that you put, a portable CD player. You could play. And of course,
Walkman with your headphones.
Yes, every single bump that you hit and skip, it was absolutely terrible. Do not have to worry about that anymore. But I want to jump back from the music to your daily show, Locked On Cyclones. And you're covering a football team. We know how important football is.
Absolutely.
That honestly, you have no clue. We take educated guesses, right? But that's all it is. And yes, everybody in the content space has gone through coaching changes. But in today's environment and how it went with Matt Campbell and all the players that went along with them, it was still, in comparison, a pretty young team that had so many guys that had eligibility coming back. And now you're almost completely flipping over the roster.
Yeah.
How do you know? I mean, how do you come up with understanding what this guy was, what I think, jumping up levels, going up to the Big 12, those kind of things? How do you do it and feel confident that you have a good feel about this football team?
Well, I'll tell you what, going back to December 5th, I hesitate to say I'll never forget that day, but I don't think I'll ever forget it.
Yeah.
It came out of nowhere. I had a tweet alert the night before. Hey, Matt Campbell might be going somewhere. Like, when is he not in conversation?
Sure.
Right. Like, that's just kind of how it goes. I kind of brushed it under the rug, and next morning it's like, red alert. By the way, you don't have a head coach anymore. And then 12 hours after I got that first alert, we had our next head coach.
Yes.
It was like, okay, from a content perspective, we can have a coaching search. We can find the silver lining, and bam, Jimmy Pollard was like, Jimmy Rogers. So from that, I do remember all of that going down, and it was like they just ripped your heart out with like, no more Matt Campbell, and that means basically no more team. But then you're like, if they pick this coach that fast, there has to be something here. Like, there just has to be. You don't make that decision lightly. So there's that I definitely factor in. Washington State fans love to throw out, like, because, he was obviously there only a year and was supposed to be there longer. Like, look out, the same thing can happen to you. And I don't know if that's going to be the same case. It is. For now, I'm definitely hopeful, and I definitely am optimistic, but I don't know if it's rooted in delusion or if it's more so based on his success at SDSU and his success in, 6-6 is that a successful season for Washington State? You could argue that point, but look at a few of the games that they lost. I thought they were very competitive in those games. And he's brought his whole staff. Jamie Pollard talked about how that was a bit of a selling point, and I do trust his ability with that staff. If you brought just Jimmy Rogers over, what would he do with, Mauser and Haycock had he not retired? That would be a whole different dynamic. But he's basically bringing his whole system, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it. He brought a lot of his players as well, and he knows what they're capable of. So there's a lot to be excited about, but there's also a lot of question marks in the air.
That most definitely is. And you go through, and some of these names are guys that we've heard about or know a little bit.
Yeah.
Jalen Ray is the easiest one because Iowa State played against Arkansas State last year. He's been around for a while. Even if you're a casual observer, it's a name I think you do in college football. I saw Zay Flores last year, though it didn't go very well. But short of that, it's just so much guesswork and figuring out. And really, for me, the biggest question is to get a complete offensive line, because I had this argument seemingly every single year. September, Iowa State offensive line, almost across the board, it stunk. And there were times by the middle and the end of the year that they morphed into a decent offensive line. But looking back at the Matt Campbell era, if I'm looking at a knock, I think it's O-line. And for a guy that was an O-line, has that kind of background, had a bunch of different guys with that background, it never felt like they got it completely right up front on that offensive line. And now you got to do it with a new group of guys who are all kinds of – you got guys that were in the SEC, and you got guys that were D2 trying to meld that all together. I think it's going to be difficult. Well is the key of this offense to be at least competent.
Absolutely. And I think it's clear that was Jimmy Rogers' main focus. When you look at like what happened in the portal and what his recruiting talents are, I think that's an area where they're going to win in the trenches. Switching to the four-man front on the defensive side is a change, but I think that's been both offensive and defensive line. Is like, we might lose the game at wide receiver. We might lose the game at running back. We will not lose the game in the trenches. Being in that position, I think is, you're going to win more games because of the trenches. You can easily lose a game because your offensive line is out of sorts. And having the focus there, we'll have to see exactly how it plays out. We're not going to act like we're the first coach. Like, we should, we're going to focus on the offensive line. Like, everybody knows that that's a key part of the offense. But I just think initial first indicators, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to go grab a flashy wide receiver. We're going to build from the inside out. I like that.
When you look at Iowa State this year, can you get to bowl eligibility? I think that's a baseline for most of the fan base. With the turnover, all these new faces, can you get to 6 wins? Is that realistic? Even 6 wins, you with what Rogers did a year ago at Washington State, you see that as a realistic goal?
I do. I think you could push. I think I got put my fan hat on a little too heavy and got the 9 wins.
Yeah.
But
that's
a bit of a reach. I could see 7 if all went perfectly well. At the same time, we could be looking at 3 wins. We could be looking at 4 wins. So I'm optimistic that they'll get to a bowl game, and I do think that Jimmy Rogers, with his experience, at Washington State, he did almost the same thing. Like, I think it was like 70-plus new players there was the number. So it's not like he's never done it before. He doesn't have a spring portal this time. There's that to consider. But at the same time that he's not losing players.
Yeah.
Keeping and then able to retain the scheme implementation and all of that kind of stuff. So I think 6 is a reasonable number. I would say if they ended up at 6 wins, that's a successful season. And I think that's a good goal. It's
building block and kind of starting off on the right foot. Speaking of that offensive line, this has been back a couple weeks ago during the open practice. The O-line that went out there at least first at the time from Eugene Rapay. Left tackle was Jake Taylor from Oklahoma, not Jake Taylor from Major League. Well, that'd be awesome. I don't know how good of a left tackle he would have been. Left guard, Caden Moss from Sioux Falls, went to a non-D1 program. Your center from Tarleton State was Braden Smith. Colton Amick came in from Wazoo along with Coach Rogers. And then Garrett Rutledge, one of the few returners, was out there at right tackle. So that was the offensive line out there. Just a bunch of different pieces that are there. So that's your baseline. Get to bowl eligibility, good, solid season. Let's go with the hardwood then. And when you look to this season, Buzz coming in, even losing, all-time great, a couple of heavy heads at the top, but Taman Lipsey, just what a tremendous player he was. He was the embodiment of exactly what TJ Otzenberger wanted, that tenacity, hard, diving after loose ball, everything that you're looking for. He was the backbone of your program. Not only losing a starter, you're losing, it's like a little something extra with Taman Lipsey. But they went in right away. They identified the guys they wanted. They got them. Freaking content.
Immediately.
You weren't able to get a lot of content out of that because they were done in 3 days. But when you look at your expectations for this Iowa State team, where do you sit here on May 6th?
Yeah, to touch on the Taman Lipsey thing, another piece of that was he played for the front of the jersey, right? And so I do feel like that echoed with this team a little bit. Like you didn't lose a Torre or a Plato or even like Jamari Bateman, those kinds of guys. I thought they had great seasons. And so to build off about looking at this next year, I really do like the young core. I thought Plato made a lot of, he took steps in the right direction. Was he, an all Big 12 guy? No, I'm not going to act like he was ridiculous at the end of the season, but I saw his minutes go up, and maybe his box score didn't look phenomenal at the end of the year, but I thought his contribution was there, and he looked more confident.
Yes.
So between him as a bigger player, Blake Buchanan returning on the inside, I really like just the returners from this past season. Obviously, Bateman is going to be kind of the three-point threat, and Torre defensively. I really like the roundness of this team at this point. We'll see how the transfers kind of fit, how they gel, because they didn't really grab like big names. They were obviously Otz's guys. They were guys he wanted, but they weren't huge names everybody knew. So we'll see how they fit and what kind of contribution they can have. I think a reasonable expectation to be in the Big 12 race, in middle to late conference play. If they're falling out right away, that's this.
So they get to the Sweet 16 again, but it just against Tennessee didn't go well. On the heels of what happened against Ole Miss the year before in the round of 32, it's not. Look, only one team's happy at the end of that NCAA tournament, right? Everybody else loses.
Well, maybe Iowa fans relatively happy.
Yeah, but you're still playing a what if game.
Yeah,
100%. you got the lead with 8 minutes to go to a Final Four.
Yeah,
and we know what happened in those final 8 minutes, so that's always going to stick around and be there.
Absolutely.
There's one team happy, that was Michigan this year. That it ended the way that they wanted to, but how much does that linger? Just the way that the seasons have ended the last couple of years, not just losing, but getting bullied in that last game of the year.
Well, the bigger thing to me is the last 4 big seasons for Iowa State, basketball the last 2 years and football the last 2 years. We have been extremely limited by injury. And I hate to play that card, and I'm not saying like Iowa State was going to win if Joshua Jefferson was in, they were going to win the whole thing, but to have that question mark stamped on the season, like you don't have any linebackers and you go to the Big 12 championship game, right? You have no safety, no secondary, essentially. It's just, there's so many what ifs about that kind of thing. And then last year it wasn't as prominent. Like Keyshawn was trending down towards the ending of the year, but I would say that was affected by the injury. No Milan for a stretch there. It's just, I don't look at the ending of the season for basketball, because that's where your question came from, as a disappointment because of coaching or because of somebody didn't show up. It's just honestly for me more of like man, what could have been? Like it wouldn't have been a Final Four appearance. Like Michigan's a really good team, or I guess it could have been, but it's just the question mark that gets me.
every single time. It's going to be sad. It's going to be frustrating. Have you seen our buddy Bart Torvik?
Maybe. I think
he's
so.
come out with his projections. This is not like his full analytics, everything in there, but at least a projection for next season with all the transfers coming in. Iowa State preseason. Take a guess. What
in
number?
in the Big 12?
No, in overall in college basketball.
Oh, let's say 16.
19.
Okay.
Iowa.
Hey, that's pretty accurate. I'm not gonna lie.
That's pretty good. What do you got for the Hawkeyes?
Oh goodness, mid-20s.
42.
Okay, I was giving you a little bit of grace there.
Down quite a bit on that front. Those full projections, though, he'll get everything into his system and spit something out here pretty soon, but at least a glimpse. Number one, Duke.
Do you think that's accurate?
Pretty good. I like his analytics. I like Torvik a lot.
As far as Iowa goes, I mean, I think Iowa State's about the right spot.
I would maybe range more towards the mid-30s for Iowa. I think they're going to be back a tournament team and probably in the same kind of position.
I was impressed with the coaching last season. I mean, I did not expect it to get implemented that quickly, essentially.
And the crazy thing is, because of what happened in the NCAA tournament, people forget losing to a crappy Penn State team, a crappy Maryland team at the end of the year, because you remember what happens in the NCAA tournament, just the importance of what that tournament does, good or bad. That is the reality, is you can forget away what happened in front of a couple hundred people in State College, Pennsylvania on a Saturday morning because of what happened in the NCAA tournament. 19 for Iowa State, 42 for Iowa. We're due for a timeout. When we come back on the other side, it is time for my picks of the day. So we go 3-2 on Monday.
Yep.
2-3 yesterday.
Hey, that's not bad.
We're right back to 500 again for the week. Can we get over the hump? Normally, the answer is no. We will try. That's coming up next here on Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network.
From the Hawkeyes to the Cyclones, the Bulldogs to the Panthers, we've got you covered everywhere in Iowa. This is Des Moines Sports Station, 106.3 KXNO.
Now here's your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website, family. That's family. Enter it now.
KXNO.com. Spring's finally here, and if you've been putting off the mower decision, we get it. There are a lot of options out there, but at Clive Power Equipment, you're not on your own. Our crew will walk you through it, match you to what actually fits your yard, and stand behind it after the sale. Try getting that at a big box store. Right now, we've got great deals on Toro zero turns, walk mowers, and battery equipment. And we just extended our hours, open till 7 weekdays and 8 to 5 Saturdays. Near University and 73rd in Clive.
Hey everyone, Chef Brandon here. Hungry? The Burger Shed is serving up handcrafted burgers made the Shed way, stacked high with big flavors and fresh ingredients. Try the Diablo Burger with habanero bacon jam and jalapeno cream cheese. Or go all in with the BS Mac, triple stacked with American cheese, lettuce, and our signature BS sauce. Pair with an over-the-top handcrafted shake, or catch the game with a frosty beer. The only BS you need is Burger Shed. Bass Pro Drive in Altoona. Burgers, beers, and a whole bunch of BS.
In Des Moines, Chase is proud to root for the home team because they're our team too. We cheer from the bleachers and on the sidelines. We cheer for gymnasts and quarterbacks. And with over 5,000 Chase branches nationwide, we're right beside you, Des Moines. Neighborhood bankers, digital tools, national strength. Chase, make more of what's yours.
JP Morgan Chase Bank, and a member FDIC.
Your one stop for advertising? Call 844-844-iHeart.
Everyone likes something for free, and this one's for the whole family. Pella Motors and Craig Ford present a free night of racing on May the 2nd. That's right, it's free. For more information, visit KnoxvilleRaceway.com.
Get ready to unleash the power of a brand new Porsche. Community Choice is giving away a 2025 Porsche Macan. Go to unbankingporsche.com to enter to win by August 31st, 2026. It's sleek, it's speedy, and it could be yours. No purchase necessary. See website for official rules.
What would you love to get back to? Walking the dog without pain? Finishing a round of golf? Getting through the day without stiffness slowing you down? With 9 convenient clinic locations and personalized hands-on care, their team helps you move better, feel stronger, and get back to doing what you love. At Kinetic Edge Physical Therapy, it's not just about treating pain, it's about helping you return to the activities that make life yours. Call Kinetic Edge Physical Therapy today to schedule your appointment or visit kineticedgept.com and start moving better now.
Running a business means wearing multiple hats. So if you're like me, you probably started out using your personal phone.
taking client calls and texts nonstop. As my business grew, I needed something smarter. That's when I switched to Quo, the #1 business phone system. Quo works right on your phone or computer. No carrying 2 phones, no clunky landline, just one easy app you can try for free. Your team can share one number and handle calls and texts together like a shared inbox. Any teammate can jump into the conversation, so customers get faster responses. And Quo's AI assistant summarizes your calls and responds to customers 24/7, so you never miss a lead or opportunity. All this starts at just $15 a month. That's basically 2 coffees. You can even keep your current business phone number. Find out why 90,000 businesses trust Quo. Money is on the line. Always say hello with Quo. Try Quo for free at quo.com/sports. That's quo.com/sports to try Quo free. QUO.com/SPORTS.
You're listening to Miller and Condon. Off the bench with Sean Roberts and Lucas Strain is on deck here on 106.3 KXNO and the Iowa Sports Radio Network.
Wrapping things up on a Wednesday, Miller and Condon on the Iowa Sports Radio Network. I'm Trent Condon, joined today by Nick Marovets, as he has for the last 2 days.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with me.
It's been fun.
Yes. It's that quiet time, but we got plenty of Cyclone talk in there. We talked a lot of Hawkeyes earlier on, so we got to whet both of our appetites today. That's not a bad thing.
It's been a great day.
Yes. What are you going to be watching when you get back home tonight? What's on the docket for you? What kind of catches your eye saying, oh, yeah, I got to be watching that one this evening?
I mean, I'm a big NHL guy, so I'm going to try to catch a few of those games and keep up with the hockey side of things, give them their flowers, but the NBA probably will dominate the TV is my guess.
The NBA and yes, I'm going to be certainly looking forward to the Timberwolves and the Spurs coming up this evening. Yeah, I think it should be a good one. I'm also going to be intrigued. Mentioned earlier, no Embiid tonight for the Sixers. So the point spread jumped up, as you'd anticipate would be the case when you lose a guy of that stature. In a way, I think I like the Sixers even more. Now I'm getting more points on top of it. I'm getting, 10.5 now in the market. So going to be jumping aboard with that. That's going to be one of my plays. I'm also going to play over in the first quarter of that one, 54.5. The total for the first quarter. I think we're going to see some points early on, them running a little bit more, obviously, with no Embiid. So that is a couple of the plays that I got here for today. Going to play Nathan Eovaldi over 5.5 strikeouts against the Yankees tonight. Plus money there, plus 112 for Eovaldi. I'm grabbing on the Timberwolves again. Now, I think this is going to go one of two ways. It's going to be physical nature. Even if Edwards doesn't go, they're going to be right there in the end, or just that toughness is going to keep them close. Or Spurs are going to win this thing by 30. This is one where you look at those alternate spreads that are out there, and when you're looking at alt spreads, you can get some really, really good plus money. This might be one. If you're going to get involved with the Spurs, that would be the way that I'd be looking at it. Not just to cover 10.5, maybe cover 19.5, 24.5.
Really run away with it.
Because we've seen this too. The crazy thing is the last, I think, 4 NBA champions, maybe it's the last 5, have been beaten by 30 points or more in a playoff game.
Oh.
Isn't that wild?
That is kind of weird.
Can you, even going back 15 years, there's no way a champion could get beat like that.
Yeah.
Maybe in a regular season game, not in a playoff game.
Playoffs,
but it happens often. It is just our new norm of the NBA. What a weird sport.
It's very possible. I actually don't hate that play at all. I think you're right. It could be close and the Timberwolves will be in it, or they are not going to say it, but take the game off and are okay with splitting this one.
Get healthy. All of a sudden, Dosunmu, hey, we don't have it tonight. Let's get him back. He's going to go tonight, but not playing him 38 minutes or anything like that. You just go to the bench, go to the young guys, go that direction, punt this game, and then get ready for game number 3. We'll be doing the same with the Wild as they await until Saturday. That is such a long layoff, but I think there's something going on up there. I think Dane mentioned that to us yesterday, that the reason that the schedule is all kind of wonky with the Wild and Avalanche series. So hockey tonight, I'll probably flip on the Ducks matchup.
Yeah.
Didn't get a play on that. I should go right back to the well. I thought they played really well in game number 1. Empty netter at the one, made it 3-1, but there's something about that Anaheim team. I like them. Coach Q is obviously a stud as a coach, as a person. That's a different conversation, but Anaheim, man, those jerseys are ugly though.
Yeah.
The orange,
yeah,
hideous.
Hard to get behind those. I like Vegas in this one. I'm not going to lie. So
they're starting to round into form, and you talk about pedigree. They don't know anything except winning in Vegas.
Pretty true.
Yeah.
So
Became an organization and they won right away, and it's just continued year after year after year how good they are. I don't know how much I'm going to get into the Canadians and the Sabres tonight. I don't know why. I just can't get into that series.
I'll tell you this, though. If every other game's a blowout,
throw it on. You know what's going to happen. We're going to get over there. Baseball, we got the Cubs going again this evening, 6:40 first pitch as the Iowa native Colin Ray will get the ball again against Brady Singer. 6:40 the first pitch there. The Twins play the Nationals. I usually make myself about, an inning before I get frustrated and start yelling at my TV and find something else to watch. That's usually how my baseball night of viewing goes. And it's usually finding my way over to the Cubs. Well, that'll do it for today. Nick, it's been a lot of fun. I did have one thing. You hung out with us on our TV show Inside the Numbers on Mediacom.
Yeah.
And we never got to it. Point spread, Cy-Hawk. What would you make the line right now at the Nick Casino?
Ooh, give me Iowa State by 1.5.
No shot. We will hopefully see that line this summer, and you'll be getting a whole lot more than 1.5. I will tell you that much.
Okay.
7.5, 10.5.
Wow, I didn't think you'd go that direction.
It's going to be a big number. Now, should you bet it? That's a different one.
That's a good play. Yeah, that's a good
Thanks
question.
for hanging out with us today and yesterday. Appreciate it, Nick.
Thank you.
That'll do it for today. Off the Bench with Sean and Lucas comes your way next year on the Iowa Sports Radio Network.